everybody, and welcome to Less Loved. It has been a super long time since I've done this series, so before I get into the actual content of this Less Loved, I do want to give a little breakdown to people who are new, or even kind of new, because this was a long time ago, as to what Less Loved is, and also the reason why I stopped. But if you do want to skip all of this, and you just want to go straight into Less Loved for this video, I will have a timestamp in the description so you can skip all of this. It's not going to be long though, it's going to be like a minute 30, 2 minutes or something. So Less Loved, basically what it is a series where I would use exotics that people either thought were trash or they just didn't think were very good, they didn't fit into the meta. And I would take those weapons, I will use them in the Crucible, and I will focus on what that weapon does good. I will only focus on the positives of that weapon. So there are some really bad guns out there that actually do one or two things really well, or they do one or two things that other weapons in the game just simply do not do. So the premise of Less Loved is that I use weapons that are not popular and I focus on what is good and we have a fun time with it. Now this series is not super serious. It's made to be cheesy because I think it's fun that way. It's a super cheesy, just showing love to these weapons that no one shows love to. It's basically a cheesy love affair with me and bad weapons in Destiny. Now the reason I had to stop Less Loved was because I was only focused on exotics, and the problem with that is that there's only so many exotics in the game, and there's not actually that many, let alone the amount that people do not like. It was a very small pool of weapons. So what I'm going to be doing this time around is I am going to be doing exotics, of course, but I'm also going to be including legendaries that I think do things well, or that I think are actually almost really good. So I'm going to try and even them out, like between exotics and legendaries, and make it an even thing, but that's how I can keep the series going. It's one of my favorite series. It might be my favorite thing to get gameplay for and to edit, because I get to use different weapons, I get to talk about different things, and I get to edit it, and it's a really fun, cheesy series, which I love editing so much, and I do want to keep it going as much as possible. So we're going to be including legendaries as well as exotics, and we will see how that goes. Now that you know what Less Loved is, let's go ahead and just jump into Less Loved, Dregs Promise. Dregs Promise is one of the 3 fallen weapons that you can acquire from Prison of Elders. And what it does, first of all, it's a sidearm, so you always spawn in with ammo, which is always a good thing. But what is special about it is that when you shoot the rounds, instead of them just coming out of the gun automatically and shooting people, they actually are projectiles that track enemies and have enhanced target acquisition. So what you will find is that you will kill people behind walls when they run behind walls, because those ricochet rounds are tracking them, and they track them very, very well. You will walk away from people and you will find that you end up killing them. Now, I actually did an entire Trials of Osiris run with Dregs Promise, and a lot of my kills came from Dregs Promise, and it definitely surprised me at how good it can actually be, especially against people who just want to run at you with shotguns. Also, it is officially the Golden Gun Killer. Check out this clip.
Goldie. Okay. No. Let's go. Using Dregs Promise.
Weapons down.
And you know when you get killed by Dregs Promise, because
Nice.
Excellent. Just 10 seconds to go.
what was that
Your
round?
opponents lie broken in your wake.
And besides being the official Golden Gun taker downer of Destiny, I end up avoiding 3 supers just within these games. I didn't use Dregs Promise a lot, so at the very least, Greg the Dreg was a very lucky guy, and by you using his weapon, you will take on his luck. You get the Pope RNG of the Dodging Supers game by taking on Greg the Dregs gun. But to get serious for a second, because it's not guaranteed that you will take down every golden gun, although I can totally say that you can because I have not been killed by a golden gun while using Dregs Promise. The positives that I actually found within this gun is, one, it is not nearly as bad as people think it is. Like, legitimately, it's really not. I would highly recommend using it in Supremacy, and although a lot of people like to say Trespasser is the best sidearm, Dregs Promise definitely has some perks to it. One of those being the fact that it does have the tracking projectiles. So like I said at the beginning of this video, you can actually shoot people and then you can walk away, and those projectiles will keep on tracking the enemy. Now you have to obviously get used to using Dregs Promise to know when this happens. You don't just want to be walking away and keeping people alive, but you can totally do that. Also, people can go behind walls, try and escape, and they can't because Dregs Promise projectiles are tracking them. So I actually found that to be really cool because people were unable to get away a lot less frequently from me. So that was really cool. Another thing is Dregs Promise hipfire. Now stay with me here because I'm sure a lot of people disagree with it. Dregs Promise I actually find really easy to hipfire because if you look at the reticle when you're not aiming down sights, when you're just holding it as a hipfire weapon, it's actually got a really wide area that you can shoot from. Now this could be a bad thing and mean that your shots are less accurate, but I personally find it way easier to use Dregs Promise with firing from the hip than I do Trespasser or any other sidearm in the game. I find that it's way more reliable. You can see that I do it against shotgunners. So when people are running at me, I can totally be comfortable just using it as a hip fire sidearm and know that I will take them down comfortably. So like I have mentioned before, this gun is really good in Supremacy. You of course can use it in other places because the Crucible is full of shotgun people who like to run at you. But in Supremacy, a lot of the time you will find that people are just purely focused on using shotguns because it makes sense because you have to be close to pick up the tags, obviously. So a weapon like Dregs Promise or Trespasser, but we ain't talking about that gun. That gun's got nothing on Dregs Promise. You can take people down with ease with Dregs Promise who are just running at you from across the map with their shotgun, and it's not difficult to do so. It is very easy. And also, I have to say, Dregs Promise is incredibly cool and awesome to use. The reload animation is badass. It's like the ray gun in Zombies, and I always thought that gun was super cool. I love the reload animation. I love the way it looks. I love the way it shoots. I love the sound it makes, and I love the fact that it has its own unique emblem in the kill feed. So when I kill you with Dregs Promise, your whole team knows that I killed you with Dregs Promise. And that just makes me feel good. I don't know. I like the fact that it has its own little unique thing that no other weapon in the game has. Literally no other weapon has its own little emblem. And that, in my opinion, is enough to use it right there. So Dregs Promise, we love you, we appreciate you, and we thank you for being a part of our destiny. That is gonna do it for Less Love, guys. Let me know in the comment section any suggestions for exotics or legendaries that you would like me to include in this series, and I will speak to you awesome people later. Bye.